It's about time I told y'all how we fixed Danger Ranger. First, our first problem, the fuel pump. The fuel pump was dead from sitting for so long, so we took the bed off. Then we bought a new fuel pump for $200 and threw it in there. Took about 2 hours because it had been on there for 20 odd years, so it was pretty stuck. After that, we tried to crank it up and it didn't work. It hydrolocked the engine. So we got a tip that our problem may be the fuel pressure regulator. There's a little diaphragm inside and I guess it broke, so it sent gas in the intake. And that's what hydrolocked our engine. So, we waited a little while. There's some bad weather coming, so we moved the truck into the barn. A few more days passed, and then my dad came out, and we probably should have left it outside because we had to blast the gas out of the cylinders by taking the spark plugs out and then just cranking. And I guess we didn't really think that one through because we did that and it sprayed gasoline all over the wall. But at least the gas was out. So after that, we laid eyes on our problem, the little regulator. It was wedged in there, but we got it out. And we replaced it with some cheap $5 hose from O'Reilly's and a $50 regulator off of eBay. Threw it on there, and it worked. So we fired it up. And I guess there was a lot of gasoline in the oil from the previous owner trying to drive it around like that. So it smoked bright white. Like that oil was completely diluted by gas. And it smoked bright white, so we didn't really run it that long. It sat for another day, went back out there, changed the oil, and drove it around. It was my first time learning standard, and by the end of it, I kind of got the hang of it. So, sat for another week without the bed, and I had to go out there, and we were going to burn some brush. So I started driving the Ranger around, and it worked great. Beat on it for about 3 hours, and on the way home, after closing the gate, I heard a, gushing noise, and then I started to hear sizzling. So I immediately cut the truck off, and mind you, this is inside the cab. I could hear this inside the cab while the motor and the radio is going. And I get out there. I look beneath the truck, and there's a big pile of gasoline sitting there. So I open the hood, and you can just hear gas sizzling when it hits the top of the motor. So I guess that little cheapo hose did not work. So I got it towed home, and then it sat for about a few hours, and then my dad came out to put the bed on it. So now it had a bed, it just didn't run. So we waited another week, then we went back out there. My dad changed it out, much easier second time, with a new 300 PSI hose. So hopefully that doesn't break, good lord. And then drove it around a little bit, and then had to sit for another week. Then Easter rolled around, so I showed the truck off, and I drove it around quite a bit. Oh, worked perfect, everything's fine, beautiful little truck.